here's Brodie Brazil.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here. This video and this time around, it's all about V-speeds because my presentation says so. But seriously, V-speeds are important when you want to be a precision pilot, a safe pilot, to know your V-speeds of every specific airplane you fly. This seems like a simple topic, but there's actually a lot to it, these different V-speeds. Number one, they're critical to operations. Too fast, too slow. I don't need to elaborate too much on that. You understand. V-speeds also differ by make and model of aircraft and by a lot of different things like conditions and weights, which we'll get into. But just understand that almost every single day in every single airplane, there's going to be different V-speeds. Now, they may only differ by 1 or 2 knots here and there, depending on the way the airplane is loaded and whatnot. But to understand kind of a 35,000-foot view of your V-speeds, very critical to your operations, but just know that what I'm explaining here at least differs by airplane make and model. As I said before, they change with conditions, which we will detail in just a second. All V-speeds are indicated airspeeds. What does that mean? I've got a whole different video on types of airspeeds, but indicated airspeeds is literally whatever your tape is showing on the glass display or whatever your needle is showing on the steam gauges. It's what the airplane is telling you the speed is. There's no other complicated math to it. I also want to let you know about V-speeds, and I changed the wording on this. I initially was going to say you need to memorize them. That's not true because they differ, like I said, every single day, basically, every single weight situation, every different model and make of airplane, and they're all a little bit different. So you shouldn't necessarily you can memorize them, that's great, but they should at least be committed to memory. A general ballpark idea of 1 to 2 to 3 knots either way of generally speaking what the V-speeds are for the aircraft. Those are the ones you're trying to nail, so I'm not saying you need to get it right on the dot, but to understand at least the tiny, tiny little window that they live in. So V-speeds, like I said, it's not really the most important thing to memorize down to the number because they change. They change with aircraft weight. They change with aircraft configuration. They change with the altitude you're flying at. They change with the outside air temperature. They change with runway conditions, wet or dry or snowy or anything like that, contaminated surfaces. So V-speeds change with all of this. Again, knowing the general V-speed is just way more important than knowing the exact number on the dot. Well, I guess unless it's a check ride. And a lot of these things are kind of painted generally here for you to see. Obviously, on this steam gauge, those white lines and green arcs and yellow arcs and the red line, they're not changing with the aircraft weight or the environment, but they're ballpark figures here. For example, the white arc is the flap range. At the very bottom is where you would stall with your flaps out, completely dirty. That's your stall speed. The green arc is if you're clean. That the bottom end is your stall speed. The top end is when you get into the caution range, the yellow area, right? For only smooth air flight only. There's the red line. There's a lot of things here to easily see, like, how about VFE, flaps extended speed? That's the top of the white arc. Above that, can't throw your flaps out. Shouldn't throw your flaps out or fully have them out. But the bottom line is this. A lot of things are visible for you to see right on the airspeed tape or on the airspeed indicator of the actual aircraft. So before you even open a book or look at the numbers, you can just look at this. It'll give you a general idea of where some of these V-speeds are. So what are some of the important V-speeds? I'm not going to describe every single one of them here, but VS0 is stall speed in a landing configuration, so flaps out, gear out. If it's a retractable, VS1 is stall speed in a clean configuration, so wheels up, flaps fully clean. VR, rotation safety speed. VFE is your max flaps fully extended speed. I think I said before that was flaps extended at all, but in reality here, VFE is flaps fully extended. Although to play it safe, I probably wouldn't put the flaps out until you're below that white arc. That's kind of the better place to live at. VY is your best rate of climb. Again, that's the most altitude over time. So a lot of times you hear about a VY climb. There's also a VX climb. That's your best angle of climb. That'll give you the most altitude over a given distance. VA, you don't hear about VA, but you do hear a lot about maneuvering speed. That is the design maneuvering speed of the aircraft. That is where at full deflection, full nose up instantly, the airplane will stall before it breaks up, right? So before you do a lot of maneuvers, you want to make sure you're at or below maneuvering speed. VLO is max landing gear operation speed. You don't want to bring it up or down. And sometimes there's VLE, gear extension speed. So there's two different things there. Understand these are very specific, but different actions. Gear operation versus extension speed, two different things. VNO is that normal operating range. That's the arc on your airspeed indicator. We have VNE, as in never exceed for structural reasons. VB is design speed for max gust intensity. We have VC as design cruising speed, VF as design flap speed, and VLOF as liftoff speed. There are literally dozens, if not close to 100 V speeds in the FAR AIM. I advise you to check them out. VMC in a multi-engine aircraft, minimum control without your critical engine. VREF, your reference landing speed. V1 and V2, your max speed for rejected takeoff, or also your takeoff safety speed. So again, this video, not to get into all the detail about what specifically each one of those means. I could spend a half hour on all of that. Maybe someday I will do separate videos for each. But just understand here that knowing the V speeds and flying the V speeds gets you to safety, performance, and precision. I think the best way to put it is that a good pilot knows what the V speeds are, knows the book numbers, knows how to perceive it on an airspeed indicator, but a great pilot is able to fly these V speeds on a regular basis. They're able to get in these spots when they're ready to drop the gear, they're in range of that. When they're ready for the flaps, they're in range for that. Knowing how to maneuver your airplane stick and rudder style to get to these speeds and utilize these speeds for safety and performance and precision. And if you're 5 knots fast on final approach, that's going to cost you thousands of feet of runway usage, right? So knowing these speeds, critical to performance, but also to safety. Again, there's a big difference between knowing these and actually flying these. So I'm here to help you know them and understand them. But most importantly, I want you to fly these V speeds. Thanks for being here on the channel. Really appreciate that. Subscribe if you like this type of content. I've got lots more coming your way. Also, thumbs up on this video if it provided you some value. That would greatly provide me some value.